Welcome back to Heavenly Cipher Channel, everyone. Today we're diving into the next strategy in the collection of 36 strategies of human harmony, an ancient treasure trove of wisdom filled with profound lessons and skills for navigating relationships and communication in life. In the previous video, we explored the first strategy, the strategy of bestowing favors, a brilliant tactic for overcoming initial challenges. Today, we continue our journey by uncovering the second strategy known as the Strategy of Detour. The Strategy of Detour may sound somewhat abstract, but in reality, it's one of the essential soft skills that each of us needs to master. It's the ability to take an indirect path to achieve a goal, employing tactful communication and behavior to secure the greatest benefits for ourselves and those around us. So, what exactly is the Strategy of Detour? Why is it so important? And how can we apply it effectively in our daily lives? I'll answer all these questions in today's video. Strategy 2. The Strategy of Detour. How do you approach someone difficult to deal with? When a traveler encounters a mountain or towering rocks blocking the path, they must find a way to go around or devise an alternative route. In human interactions, this is the act of taking a detour to achieve a goal, meaning instead of going straight, you take an indirect path. Some things cannot be said directly and must be expressed indirectly. When dealing with hard-to-approach individuals, you must forge a path through mountains or build a bridge over rivers. If you're unsure what someone is hiding, you must throw stones to test the waters and uncover their true intentions. Sometimes, to weaken an opponent's resolve or make them drop their guard, you need to take a detour, even employing the tactic of pointing at Zhang San to talk about Lao Si. While in life there are many straight as an arrow people, rigid in their ways, who won't turn back even if they hit a wall and 10 oxen couldn't pull them back. For such individuals, you must master the art of detour, using your wits to find a winding path to overcome obstacles. In short, taking a few detours will surely lead to the greatest practical benefits in human relationships. Before the melody forms first, build rapport. During the Jiajing era of the Ming dynasty, an upright and honest official named Li Yue uncovered fraud in the imperial examinations and submitted a memorial to the emperor. The emperor ignored it. Li Yue submitted another, only to enrage the emperor, who accused him of slander and ordered his mouth sealed with paper, forbidding anyone to remove it. With his mouth sealed, Li Yue could not eat effectively, sentencing him to death. At that moment, another official stepped forward, scolded Li Yue in front of him, saying, "How dare you speak so boldly before the emperor? That's a grave offense," and slapped him twice, tearing the paper, sealing his mouth. Since this official reprimanded Li Yue on behalf of the emperor did not punish him. In truth, the official was Li Yue's student, who in this critical moment cleverly saved his teacher by striking him to rip the paper off. Had he directly pleaded for leniency, not only would he have failed to save his teacher, but he would have also brought trouble upon himself. This method was executed with remarkable finesse. Li Yue failed to grasp the principle of prioritizing tact in life, falling far short of his student's ingenuity. The student skillfully navigated around the emperor's harsh decree, saving his teacher from disaster. It's worth noting that traditional culture highly values indirect approaches. The master humorist Lin Yutang observed that Chinese people, especially the educated approach, requests like composing an 8-part essay. Unlike Westerners who might bluntly ask, "What's your purpose for coming?" which is considered inelegant, Chinese people engage in refined, cultured conversation, resembling the graceful structure of an 8-part essay. This approach is not only aesthetically pleasing, but also tightly structured, divisible into 4 stages. The first stage is small talk, often about the weather. Phrases like, "Your esteemed name, long admired, a pleasure to meet," and "the weather is pleasant today," set the tone. Lin Yutang called this the meteorological stage, its main purpose being to settle in before building rapport, establishing an emotional connection. In daily life, such topics are universal and unlikely to offend. The second stage involves reminiscing about past shared experiences, deepening the bond. This moves from general topics to personal ones, a process of deeper engagement. Lin Yutang humorously dubbed this the historical stage. It might involve mentioning shared connections like attending the same school or living in neighboring areas, fostering growing camaraderie. If both parties studied at Peking University and knew professors like Zima Shi, Ji Shihongming or Lin Kinnan, the bond grows even stronger. Mastering this stage creates genuine emotional harmony. The third stage involves discussing current events and sharing opinions, entering what Lin Yutang called the political stage. With rapport established, the conversation gains momentum. You might clasp hands and dive into weighty topics like the fate of the nation or historical figures. For instance, recalling hearing Sun Yat-sen speak in the third year of the Guangxu era, now 33 years past in the 29th year of the Republic, could lead to proudly declaring 33 years following Sun Yat-sen. If this stage is handled well, emotions ripen, enthusiasm surges, and you might even lament meeting so late, ready to join forces. At this point, the stage is perfectly set to broach the intended matter. The fourth stage, which Lin Yutang called the economic stage, involves requesting a small favor. You might stand bow slightly and say, "I have a small matter I'd like to trouble you with. Since you know Mr. X, could you write a letter of introduction for me?" This stage must feel natural, unforced, and free of heavy pressure, as if no emotional debt is incurred. It should flow seamlessly from the previous stages, concluding the interaction gracefully. 3 techniques of indirect approach. The renowned Italian journalist Oriana Fallaci masterfully employed the art of the detour. Her provocative, sharp, and aggressive interview style earned her the nickname Pirate among journalists. Her circuitous and nuanced interviewing method was one of her key tools for success. First technique, casting the noose, initially. When interviewing Nguyen Van Thieu, the former president of the Saigon regime, Fallaci wanted him to address claims that he was the richest and most corrupt man in South Vietnam. Asking directly would likely prompt an immediate denial. Instead, she split the issue into 2 related questions, approaching it indirectly to achieve her goal. She began by asking, "Is it true that you came from a very poor background?" This touched a chord, leading Nguyen Van Thieu to recount his humble origins. After receiving an affirmative response, she followed up, "Now you are immensely wealthy. Is it true you have bank accounts and properties in Switzerland, London, Paris, and Australia?" Though Nguyen Van Thieu denied it, to dispel the rumors, he detailed his modest assets. As the saying goes, Nguyen Van Thieu's wealth and corruption became clear as day when readers saw the list of assets he disclosed. Second technique, rephrasing the noose. When interviewing Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping, Fallaci posed a question: "Will Chairman Mao's portrait remain on Tiananmen Square forever?" On the surface, it seemed an innocuous question, but it carried deep implications, aiming to uncover Deng Xiaoping's views on Mao Zedong's future status and the role of Mao's ideology in Chinese society. Similarly, when interviewing Pakistan's President Ali Bhutto, whom Western commentators labeled a brutal dictator, Fallaci avoided asking directly, "Mr. President, is it true you're a fascist?" Instead, she asked, "Mr. President, is it true You're an avid reader of Mussolini, Hitler, and Napoleon. In essence, the question implied the same accusation, but was framed differently to lower his guard and elicit his true thoughts. This approach may seem subtle, but is profoundly incisive. Third technique, cloaking the noose in emotion. When interviewing Deng Xiaoping, Fallacy began by wishing him a happy birthday. Through her research, she knew Deng was born on August 22nd, the detail he himself had forgotten. Deng Xiaoping responded, "My birthday is tomorrow, my birthday." Fallacy replied, "Yes, Mr. Deng Xiaoping, I read it in your biography." Deng said, "If you say so, then it must be true. I've never kept track of my birthday. Even if tomorrow is my birthday, you shouldn't congratulate me. I'm 76 years old, already frail and old." Fallacy responded, "Mr. Deng Xiaoping, my father is 76. If I told him he was frail and old, he'd slap me." Deng replied, "He'd be right to do so. You shouldn't say that to your father, should you?" The interview atmosphere became light and harmonious. It's clear that journalists like Fallacy are experts at navigating conversations with finesse and subtlety. When dealing with such individuals, we must stay vigilant carefully, considering whether we're being ensnared by their noose before responding. Following the path of the elderly and children. When seeking help from someone, that person is often in their prime, with parents above and children below. Thus, besides approaching through their spouse, one must also take the path of the elderly and children. Why are the elderly and children ideal routes? First, the elderly and children are easy to approach. The elderly with weakened bodies are often retired or resting at home. With little to do as their family discourages them from household chores, they lack opportunities to talk and often feel lonely. If someone takes the initiative to engage them, offering a moment of relief, they are delighted. Psychology also tells us that the elderly are far kinder and more benevolent than younger people, making them easier to approach. Children, on the other hand, are innocent, energetic, curious, and drawn to novelty. A Tang Dynasty poem, a fairy tale, a spooky face, or a playful scare can quickly capture their attention. Second, the elderly and children enjoy being approached. The elderly, with their vast knowledge and rich life experience, carry a wealth of experience products, both emotional and rational insights. Given the chance, they speak freely, eager to influence and inspire the younger generation, finding comfort in doing so. In reality, staying home all day leaves them with few opportunities to share stories or pass on wisdom, so their physiological and psychological state makes them exceptionally warm and approachable. They often enthusiastically initiate conversations, especially with younger people. As for children, if we approach them sincerely with a childlike heart, bringing them joy and novelty, they quickly see us as fun or even heroic figures to admire and bond with. In summary, due to their unique psychological and physiological traits, both the elderly and children warmly welcome new connections. Building family rapport through the elderly and children. The elderly are revered as family elders in Chinese tradition, where respecting the aged is deeply ingrained. When the elderly are pleased, the entire household is joyful. Similarly, Chinese culture places great importance on lineage viewing children as the family's future, a value passed down from grandparents to parents. In modern families, often with only one child, the child is especially cherished. Befriending a child thus opens the door to connecting with the whole family. To follow the path of the elderly and children, consider these key points. First, gather and accumulate knowledge about the elderly and children. Beyond researching their emotions and preferences, regularly engage with resources like magazines, movies, or TV to understand their health, hobbies, and interests. Learn about children's clever stories or behaviors to have material ready for interaction when opportunities arise. Second, proactively engage in the family's daily life. Conversation is the most direct way to gather information. When entering a household and encountering the elderly or children, Create a warm, familiar atmosphere as if you've known them for years. Initiate topics for discussion rather than waiting for them to speak reluctantly. In the brief initial moments of contact, being prepared psychologically and finding easy conversation starters is crucial. Speaking first to the elderly shows respect, while addressing children first conveys warmth, dispelling their sense of unfamiliarity. Third, never underestimate them. Approach with care. With the elderly, maintain a respectful attitude and humble behavior to demonstrate sincerity and reverence. Boasting, sidelining, or interrupting them will lead to coldness or even rejection. Children, naturally innocent and playful, can be sensitive and quick to cry if upset. When interacting with them, choose words carefully to align with their feelings, using genuine sincerity to win their affection. Avoid patronizing or acting superior, as this alienates them. In applying the strategy of detour, flexibility is key. When facing challenges, encourage children and align with the elderly's wishes without losing their goodwill. This is the most effective way to build meaningful connections with others.